Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. Yes, I know it's going to be amazing because you know who you all want to work with. I know who you want to work with. I know who you want to work with. I know you want to work with nice people, trusting people, things like that. But what if these nice and trusting people also had money? Wouldn't that be like really cool to work with people who had money as well as being nice and friendly and trustworthy and trusting and everything else that comes with it? Today, we're going to talk about the affluent. We're going to talk about maybe the millionaire next door. We're going to talk about luxury. What does it take? What does it look like to work in that world? We all want to know what it looks like. I mean, here's the thing. What if you could sell one house for $25 million? Or would you rather sell, like I did, 187 homes for $25 million in Kansas City? Which of those is better for your time, sanity, everything else? Now, I don't know how many $25 million houses there are in Kansas City. Not very many. But the bottom line here is, hey, listen, we know that working with one affluent client can really make up for 5 to 10 of maybe the entry level type of homes. Or if you're in roofing or landscaping or solar or any of the other contractor or ownership business, jewelry, then guess what? We need to be able to network and work with the luxurious, the people who kind of have that lifestyle and understand what it looks like. So we have an expert on that today, and I can't wait to get to it. Couple things real quick. I first have to give a shout out to our listeners. 12,000 plus downloads a month. Like, I know that only 10,000 of those are me. Like, wait, they're unique? Are you kidding me? That means mine only counts once? If I would have known that, I would have spent a lot less time hitting download. But here's the thing. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching at Get Referrals YouTube. Our subscriber base has never been bigger, and it's because of you. And I want to give a shout out to Fairy Garden Girl. Like, why don't you people use your real names? I want to refer you. Now, Fairy Garden Girl is definitely memorable and somewhat referable, but it would have been great if you would have left your name. So Fairy Garden Girl, let us know who you are. Go to joingengen.com and go, I'm Fairy Garden Girl. And then we'll know who said these awesome words. If you've been wanting to grow your business without cold calling, door knocking, being pushy, or having your friends run and hide when they see you coming, Referrals Podcast with Michael J. Maher is what you've been looking for. If you're looking for practical, easy to understand and do ways to grow your business, here it is. You can have fun and grow and strengthen relationships while you work. Thank you, Michael, and all the guests who have been so generous with their time and knowledge. Fairy Garden Girl, thanks a million. Let us know who you are. And then one quick point on a call to action. Listen, I'm running a book club next month. I want you to be in it. Could you imagine a book club run by the author of the book? So me and 2 of our CRTs are going to be running and going through, and I'm going to disclose little secrets and little strategies within 7L that I've never disclosed before. And you're going to get like the truth behind some of these sentences and paragraphs. And did you know the names of the characters in 7L actually have meanings behind just being their name? So I'm going to go into that. Check it out at referralmasteryacademy.com. Referralmasteryacademy.com. Join today. We'd love to see you in there, and we'd love to help you get more referrals. Speaking of getting more referrals, we have a very, very special guest here today. Michael LaFido is a real estate consultant and top producing realtor with over 20 years of experience in the real estate industry. Michael's marketing has been the featured cover story in Crain's Chicago Business and highlighted in such places as Forbes and Fox News Chicago Business Hour. He is also the author of 4, count them, 4 books, including his bestseller, Luxury Listing Specialist. Throughout his career, Michael learned the importance of high caliber marketing versus traditional marketing, which has become pivotal to his success. He has developed a method that takes a more comprehensive and proactive approach when positioning and marketing a home. And I can say, as a side note during this intro, that I had the opportunity to see Michael teach personally in Cabo at his sold out, standing room only, legitimately standing room only LUXE class for his certified LUXE. And I will tell you that this guy walks the talk. He is amazing, and the way he positions and market home and how he positions and markets himself is off the charts. And that's what actually spurred this interview today. Michael has created the nationally recognized luxury designation for real estate agents, which is known as Luxury Listing Specialist, LUXE, LUXE. This designation establishes an in-depth and detailed set of standards for agents that represent luxury homes and is currently offered with CE in Texas, Georgia, and Florida. The trainings are based on the same principles Michael outlines in his bestseller, Luxury Listing Specialist, that he teaches to agents across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's welcome to Referrals Podcast, Mr. Michael LaFido. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be on here. It was a pleasure for you to stop by our designation training in Cabo as well.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me and having me over and getting a chance to see you work it, because it was fantastic. I love the thoughts. I love for many of them, I understand marketing with 5 senses was brand new to most of them. And that was one way that we totally differentiated what we do. And it was great to see it, verified by you and all the great examples that you gave. The thing is most people they teach from like their coaching clients, or they teach from what other people did or another book. They take somebody's book and then they try to teach from it. And what you're doing, everything you showed was yours. Everything you showed was your listing. Everything you showed was your pre-listing. It was beautiful to watch, and how you did it and managed the time was spectacular. It was fun to watch you work, man.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm a student of the game as well, and I love watching others present, right? And that's really what we're in the business of articulating, bringing value to people and articulating why us versus the competition. Whether you're in landscaping, you're in real estate, you're in whatever, right? There's a lot of choices out there, and so why should somebody hire you?
That's right. And we're going to get into that, and I love it. All right. So how did this all start? How did you get into the real estate game in the very beginning?
Well, I can tell you it wasn't something in my bloodline, right? And so I wasn't raised by parents that were business owners or real estate agents. They didn't hand me a book of business. I graduated college, Northern Michigan University. I was a high school health and physical education teacher. And in the summers, to make money, I would power wash and stain decks. And I was cleaning a gentleman's deck. And he says, hey, you're really good with people. You're younger. You got a lot of energy. Have you ever thought about getting into real estate? I said, no, not really. He goes, well, I run a real estate company here in Naperville, Illinois. And one of my top agents is a teacher at the college, at North Central College. You should think about getting in real estate. And being an entrepreneur, I kind of looked into it. This is before HGTV, and it wasn't like I loved real estate, but I was an entrepreneur. And so I looked into it. And 3 months later, in 2000, fall of 2000, I got my license. And I kind of looked at it as if I could sell 1 or 2 homes a year, that'd be equivalency of coaching a couple sports. And, fast forward a few years later, 2007, I was the second leading producer for the entire Midwest through a big franchise that maybe your listeners have heard of called Realty Executives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, very interesting, because I taught high school math and was a high school coach of 3 sports. In the summer, I had been doing curriculum development on a grant. The grant ran out, so I was looking for summer employment. I was also buying my first home at that time. And the ladies that were running the new home subdivision where I bought my first home were like, you would be great at agent, right? You'd be great at real estate. You should try it. And you know what? They say teachers make great realtors. And a big part of it is that, in teaching, sometimes there's not the reward for the amount of work that's involved. And when you're doing real estate, the reward is fantastic for the work involved. And the other part of it too is we're not in it for the money. We're in it to help people, just like we were when we were teaching. We didn't focus on the money. We were focusing on just helping and educating each client one at a time. And that's very referable. Is doing a good job for the client, caring for the client, and not worrying about the money is very referable. That's being referable. So I love it. We started about the same time. I started a couple of years earlier than you did. So it was interesting. Nice. All right. So early on, I'm guessing that you worked with everyone and anyone, right? First time home buyer, first time home seller, second time home seller, third time home seller, everything all the way up to the treasure home, hopefully. And then how did you end up getting into the affluent market and the luxury marketing?
Yeah, so my story is very similar to most real estate agents' story, is the progression to luxury, and some never get there. But typically when you start out, you hit the nail on the head. You work with a lot of buyers, a lot of entry level or starter buyers and sellers, and then every market's got average price point. But the buckets, I like saying that there's 5 buckets in most markets and 4 in smaller markets. And those are entry level or starter price point. Bucket number 2 is your average price point. Again, you can find the average price point through your MLS, real estate board, title company. The third bucket, Michael, is what I define as a high-end home. And I define a high-end home as a home that's 2 times the average sale price in that given market. The fourth bucket is what we define as a luxury priced home. And I define a luxury priced home as a home that's 3 times your average sale price. And then the fifth bucket is what we call ultra luxury. And in big markets, you'll find ultra luxury. And that is a home that's 10 times the average price point. So I did the progression. I waited like everybody else. I had limiting beliefs, thinking you had to be licensed X amount of years, had to have gray hairs, had to be with a certain brokerage before you sold luxury. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. So those of you that are listening, don't wait to go to market to the affluent. Don't wait like I did. Now, that's the reality. But on the same token, a lot of people are looking for that easy button, right? These younger, newer agents. I just helped an agent go on a $22.9 million listing appointment in Fort Lauderdale. He's 20 years old, has never sold anything, and he had this arrogance about him. And at one point, he told one of the clients, "You owe me this." Like the client owed him something. And once we got in the car, I told him, "Listen, nobody owes you anything.
That's right.
Just let's get this straight. I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything." Now, what you could have said is reverse and said, "Although you don't owe me anything, I've done this, this, and this." I would hope that you would consider that. So getting back to your original question, it took me a long time. And, I'm a mentor of Dan S. Kennedy. And one of the things Dan always talked about is marketing to the affluent. If you're an Ace Hardware, you're a Home Depot, and you're selling 37 cents screws and nuts and bolts, you ought to have that slack adjuster, that big high ticket to make up for all the small price points. Well, same thing with real estate. Most agents focus on bucket number 1 and 2, entry level and average. And so I'm a big believer, Michael, in diversifying and working smarter, not harder, and adding some high-end and luxury clientele to your portfolio of clients that you represent. And so that is something that I'm very passionate about.
That's awesome. So Dan Kennedy's the no BS guy, right?
Yeah. No BS. Correct.
Yeah. So one of his favorite books is No BS for Time Management, and he talks in there about, how many books there were there on time blocking and things like that, and the answer is there weren't any. Like, it's so funny is like there were different books like Eat That Frog, which was basically just a bunch of ideas on time management, but No BS for Time Management was just such a great book on time blocking and scheduling, and it was a no BS book. I really appreciated it because he just put it out there. So I love it. And he has No BS for marketing to the affluent. There's like 20, 21 books in a series, I think, something
Correct.
like that.
Correct.
So All right. So what's different with your approach to selling luxury?
Yeah, so I look at it as a comprehensive approach. Every property is unique, right? And so whether you represent a buyer or whether you represent a seller, but it's really about that Ritz-Carlton experience, right? And so you got to think about reverse engineering anything when you're building a business. What's the end result? I talk about the reverse engineer. So I know you're a baseball guy,
Yes.
so spring training, the Major League Baseball just started. They have to set out and say, okay, opening day is March 31st. So what do we need to do to get our pitchers ready, our catchers, and start with training and work back to spring training in January or February? That's reverse engineering. Well, same thing. Write this down. This is a writer downer for the listeners. The most listened to radio station that affluent buyers listen to, that affluent sellers listen to, that entry level buyers and sellers listen to is WIIFM. What's in it for me, or in this case, what's in it for them? And so, what are you going to do to save them time, aggravation, money? And with the affluent, it's really more so than any price point to save them time, right? And navigate turbulence. They're busy. They have caretakers. They have people handling their book of business, and so trust is really important. Trust, credibility, knowing that you have their back is important in all price points. But when you're talking to the affluent, when you're talking to, they've been taken advantage of. They get charged more because they live in a gated community. They've been charged more because of somebody knows they have money. They've been taken advantage of. I tell the we're in the spring right now, and you have grass. You're getting your backyard and your front yard cut by a landscape company. Mm-hmm. If somebody that is affluent and lives in a gated community and they're on a half acre, which they get charged more than the guy maybe that's on 2 acres down the road that's got an entry level property by the same landscape company, even though there's 4 times more grass to cut. It shouldn't be the case. So they are skeptical by nature. Okay, they've been taken advantage of from family, from friends, from contractors. So that silver platter, that white glove service, that building trust is the key. The entry to barrier is much more difficult when dealing with affluent buyers and affluent sellers because we're on the Referrals podcast. They lean more on referrals and recommendations more so than any price point.
That's right. Because they've been burned so many times, right? And they don't have time to read ads. They're not reading ads. They're not on Facebook. They're not, they're not going through Value Pack, right? No. I mean, you know what they're doing? They go to their neighbor or a COO or a CFO and they go, if you're looking to sell a house, who would you go to, right? I remember selling the CFO at Sprint's house, right? Total referral from Jeff Homan, right? So shout out to Jeff. But it was just like, it was an amazing experience because everything you just said, once he trusted me and I said, I've got this and he could count on me, we hardly ever talked. Like we didn't talk. It literally was just like, make sure I know things are handled, right? We'd send updates and that was it. It was just a huge skepticism though. I love that you brought that up. So how do you overcome skepticism?
There's a lot of various factors. There's not an easy button, right? People are looking for the easy button. There's a lot of factors. So let's start with the baseline factor. Consistency builds trust. Consistency. What do I mean by that? If I were to look up one of your listeners' website and I look them up on LinkedIn and Facebook and their YouTube channel and their Instagram, would I see consistency from a branding, from a colors, from a contact information? Number one. Number two, you can't have enough case studies and testimonials. There's just so 5-star review. I need to do better job at that, asking for that. So managing the client's expectations when you're working with someone. So a perfect example, we have these examples in front of us all the time. Literally, I drive an F-Pace, a Jaguar F-Pace. I had it in for some service. My service manager told me at the end, Michael, you're going to get an email. You're going to get a call. I need to get a 5-star. Like I'm like literally I get bonuses. If I don't get a 5-star, I will get in trouble. So if we didn't do everything to earn a 5-star, let me know what we need to do. And he really, I mean, hammered it. I'm a D, I'm a driver. You tell me once, I get it. He told me multiple times. I'm like, I get it. But guess what happens? I get the car back. It wasn't vacuumed. It wasn't washed. Now, again, that's little things, but they're supposed to do that.
No, that's part of the deal.
But I know a 5-star was important to him, so I didn't go ahead and give him a 4-star. I call him and just said, so you know, a 5-star is important to you. This happened, right? And so that same idea, teach your clients the same. I'm gonna ask you for a review at the end. I'm gonna ask you for a 5-star. I'm not earning the 5-star because you feel like you're in the dark, or there's going to be some turbulence. To use a turbulence analogy, right? You and I just flew to Cabo. The pilot got over and says, "Folks, we're aware that there's going to be some turbulence. I'm going to try to navigate us around it. However, there will be some turbulence that I'm not even aware of." Well, use those type of stories and those kind of, analogies when you're working with the buyer and you're working with the seller. So people are going to do their due diligence. And so people are looking you up, Michael, to determine whether they're listening to the referral podcast. They're looking me up. They're Googling me. They're looking me up. They're looking up the landscaper's business. They're looking up the accountant's business. And we can't control who's looking us up, but what we can control is our branding, our marketing, our consistency, our reviews, our case studies. So that's like the foundation. Like you can't take the next step unless you have those things. People want the easy button, but you got to take care of those things.
Yeah, love that. And I love the thought. And just I have to give a shout out to a podcast we just did 3 weeks ago, and I hope the people, maybe they're newer to the Referrals podcast, go check that out. Toral has over 1,000 5-star reviews. And she talks about how she systematically and automatically got those reviews. And one thing that we didn't talk about that on that podcast, but we are now, is when you're going to get less than a 5-star, you'd like to know about it. That'd be the time. When do you want to know that you're going to get less than a 5-star, right? Immediately, before they post it. What you don't want to do is get a 4-star or a 1-star without having the opportunity to right or wrong. Well, like you gave that manager, he verbalized the importance of a 5-star to him. Well, you're more likely to review him later because of the importance, and you gave him the chance to get a 5-star and, give that experience. And you're also in luxury, so you probably gave him 5 or 6 other ideas to, even step it up even more.
Right.
So I love the testimonials to overcome skepticism versus your own word, right? The power of the third-party endorsement, the third-party testimonial, and those 5 stars. And then I also love what you said about the cutting the grass. That was one thing that I felt like I did a good job of is like if I saw that somebody was getting charged a half acre versus the 2-acre price, then I'm going to the landscaper and I'm going to just say, hey, listen, I know this is a little tougher. It's a little more time because you get through the gate. Maybe you charge 1.1, but you're charging them 3.5 times what you're doing down here, right? I know it because they're both my clients.
Yeah.
So, we would, and I did have a guy who did, he did stereo and surround sound install. And okay. I literally got super mad at him because of the price difference that he was going to be talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the fastest way to get credibility is if they know you're advocating on their behalf behind the scenes, and if you can save them $1, people will be appreciative of that. I mean, it's no different than negotiations. I just sold a house in my neighborhood for $1.45 million. They gave me the okay to accept a price that was $5,000 less. Okay. I know it's only $5,000, but I went back behind the scenes knowing I wasn't going to kill the deal. They were in a multiple offer situation, and I tried to get them more, but I ended up getting them $5,000 more. And so I said, hey, I got good news and I got bad news. What do you want to hear? And, and I like getting the buy-in. One of my first mentors, Joe Stump, used to say, hey, Mike, like if I'm calling you, hey, Michael, are you standing or are you sitting? And whatever they say, tell them to do the opposite. I'm sitting. Oh, you better stand. I got some news for you. And so I told them, hey, I hope you don't mind. I got you $5,000 more. And it was $5,000 to these people, but it was the thought process behind it, right? And so, like, I like to figure out where they're excited, and we'll never kill a deal for egos and trying to get them more, or trying to get the last word with the other agent. But that's really important. It's over deliver, under promise and over deliver is key. So trust is the main pillar. Then the second aspect, Michael, to all of this is think about it. When you are trying to break in with somebody, if somebody refers you or recommends you, right, the Referrals podcast, that is key. So sometimes you have to get in with the influencers. You can't get in directly with that CEO. You can't get in directly with that homeowner, but somebody that knows somebody that's already built that trust and credibility with them, if you can get in with that, it's like Meet the Parents, right? Yeah, Meet the Parents of Robert De Niro, the circle of trust. How do you penetrate the circle of trust?
That's right.
It's great directly if you can penetrate and you build the trust and credibility with that high net worth individual. But the next best thing is to build the credibility and trust with somebody in the circle of influence.
I have to tell you, that's such a huge point. That's actually one of the ways I got my very first luxury list, or it wasn't actually luxury. It would have been what you called high end. But at the time, this is me.
Luxury for you.
Yeah, luxury for me. Yeah. And what happened was I got a referral from someone, and it was like a cousin, and it was a younger kid. And so we started working on it, and I communicated like I do with any referral. And I told the referral source, I say, hey, listen, regardless of outcome, please know how much I appreciate this opportunity. Well, it ended up that this cousin, had like a 510 credit score and had a lot of work to do, right? And I just told him, hey, listen, here's the work you're going to need to do, and you're probably a year away from getting a house, right? And just communicated. Then I got back with the referral source, and I just said, hey, listen, they're not ready at this point, and I know that they've made the choice to maybe wait on it right now, but I just wanted to give you an update. And he goes, well, I appreciate that. And I wasn't sure of his status or where he was on that, but there's somebody else I want to talk to you. And later on, I was at a poker game, and it was actually him and other people who are influencers in that high-end, high bracket type of stuff. And he told the story that I sent the cousin to test you. I sent this one that I didn't know if it was going to happen or not, just to see how you would treat this referral, how you would treat, this person that's inside the circle of trust, but on the fringe. Before I get you in the circle of trust, I wanted to make sure you're worth it, right? So it was interesting. And by the way, that guy, Charles is his name, he was huge for my business, like huge. Lots of referrals, lots of opportunities, lots of networking opportunities, just a true ambassador in every sense of the word. So, if I had treated the cousin poorly, didn't communicate well, I would have never got behind door number 2. Or door number 3. Door number 1 will be tough, right? To test you. So I love that.
You're absolutely right. So I tell agents, do everything ethically, but do everything possible to get that first high-end or trophy buyer or seller. So, it's unfortunate the world that we're in, and we're in a TikTok needed it yesterday world that we're in. But I use TikTok or Instagram as an example. But, the reality is, if you hold up your 7 levels of communication book next to a rusty out pickup truck and with a little motivational message, and then, the next week you do the same next to a Bugatti or Lamborghini, which one's going to get more likes and comments? Right. Same book. Yeah. You're in both pictures. It's the world that we're in it. So I'm a big believer that I think the fastest way for your listeners to get instant credibility from their database and their sphere and people that know them, like them, and trust them. And matter of fact, people that don't know them that well, like them that well, or trust them that well, is you get that first trophy client.
Yes,
in other words, I have a painter right now that I'm working with, a guy I went to high school with, does a great job. He just did some painting at a $3 million listing of mine. I know his average price point property he's doing this is $3 to $1 million. This is a trophy opportunity. So I said to Phil, did you take some before pictures? I will be happy to share with you my professional after pictures. Guess what? On his website, they see that he paints a $3 million home. It's going to make his conversion of those 500, those entry levels, a lot better. Same thing with that landscaper. And so do everything you can to get that, that trophy client, right? And so sometimes, like, I'm at my book of business, as you mentioned, I'm selling for 23 years. I've sold CEOs of Office Max. I've worked with executives at Cooper's Hawk. I sold, NFL linebacker Khalil Mack's home. I've worked with all these people. I practice what I preach, but I'm still here to tell you that, at the end of the day, it's about trust. It's about credibility. And until you have some of those price points, do everything you can to get that. And so I'm at the point in my career where I'll say no to people if they're unrealistic, if they're on price, if they're not flexible, they're not willing to position the home and stage the home or do the things I need. I'll say no to people, but I'm at a point where I can do that.
That's right.
For those of you that are listening that don't have those trophy opportunities, that buyer, that listing, do everything possible. So again, if I'm buying a home in Kansas City and I don't have a realtor and I don't know anything, but I land on Michael's, website and I see some trophy properties, I don't know if they're overpriced. But it's we're in a show and tell industry. I say, wow, he represents those high end ones. They must have done their due diligence on him. So if he's good enough for that 1.5 million or 750,000, he's good enough for me buying a $200,000 home. So I'm a big believer in top down, the credibility and trust. If you can get those properties or those buyers, your conversion rate for the lower price points will skyrocket.
Love it. Love it. So is there an avatar? Who is the typical luxury client? Who is that? And maybe what are some surprises about the people that you've worked with at that level that you've discovered? Like, one of the big things is Thomas J. Stanley's book, The Millionaire Next Door. It was full of surprises. One of those is the average millionaire wears overalls, drives a Ford pickup, and doesn't flaunt the finances, right? So what have you discovered about that luxury client, the person that owns maybe that ultra luxury type of place?
Well, a couple things. At the end of the day, they come home from working and their dog poops on their carpeting just like it poops on yours and mine, right? They put their pants on one leg at a time. Like Hoosiers, right?
Yeah,
the small town basketball team makes it to the state championship. Right. The coach brings out a tape measure and says, that hoop's 10 feet tall, just like the one we've been playing. So sometimes people are in awe. The thing that I work with when I'm coaching an agent or somebody goes through my course is I work on the mindset in between the ears, the limiting beliefs that each of us has, right? And so at the end of the day, I don't want to happen to agents that they don't take these opportunities because of the what ifs and the fears, right? We're in baseball season. Babe Ruth says, never let the fear of striking out get in your way. So many of the listeners here maybe don't go after those opportunities because of the what ifs. Don't what if yourself to death, right? What if they ask me how many I've sold? What if they ask me this? What if they ask me that? But I will tell you that, getting back to your avatar question, you can't judge a book by its cover, as you mentioned. I know a lot of millionaires. I've interviewed billionaires on my podcast, Luxury Listing Specialist podcast. I've had billionaires on my podcast. I have one of the co-founders of Zillow jumping on my podcast next. And so what I can tell you is I see some of these people at the country club. I see some of these people out, and sometimes it's after the fact that you find out that they're wealthy, after the fact they own that house, after the fact, wow, you would never think that. So yes, there's some people that look the part, and maybe they're not the part, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people that have the money, and you wouldn't know it. But more importantly, with referrals, treat everybody with respect. You never know where your next referral is going to come from. I had a $10.5 million listing. It was one of my trophy properties. And it was a referral from a guy that works at the country club that used to borrow my box truck. I used to have one of these U-Haul on-demand trucks. Buy or sell with me, use the truck for free. It didn't say that, but you've seen them in other realtors in most markets have these.
Have them. Yep, I've had a couple of them. Yep.
You've had a couple, yeah.
Yep.
I had a 10-foot box truck, loved it. I just couldn't figure out where to park it all the time, so I ended up selling it. But I missed that truck, right?
Yeah.
But the point is, a guy that used to use it at the health club all the time referred me a $10.5 million listing. So treat everybody with respect. You don't know where your next client's going to come from.
Truly. It goes back to the story of one of my first. I was the guy who threw housewarming parties for buyers, right? That was my initial niche, and it worked. I mean, it was instant differentiation in a world of a bunch of buyers agents, right? And I remember doing housewarming parties. They did great. And then I got a $60,000 buyer who bought a house in a place in Kansas City, Kansas, and it was like, I mean, like I didn't make very much. You know, I was at a company that was 50% split, plus they took some off the top of that even, right? And like I was gonna like end up like not making much money if I did the housewarming party. But you know what? I was the guy who did housewarming parties. So I did the housewarming party. Well, it turned out I got $1 million of business. One of the parents ended up selling a $400,000 house and buying a $600,000 house from having that housewarming party. You know, and it's like, you know, just live up to, and I made like $189 on that, but I made a lot more in the back end. And, you know, it's just one of those where you treat everybody with respect, and you just never know. You know, people know people who know people who know people. And it's just it's the best way to do it anyway. Yeah. It's just so much better. You know, I've made so much money not worrying about money. Yeah, that's what's amazing, you know. Well,
and you're exactly right. So one of the things I teach agents or team leaders is have specialists within your team. So maybe you have an internal luxury division, or maybe you have that agent that's certified, or they're working with the luxury, and then you can refer out some entry level to other team members, right? So eventually you're going to have to, if you grow your team, you grow your business, you might have to refer internally to some entry level or some renters. You know, jack of all trades, master of none. At some point you want to become a specialist, but you know, it takes time. It does.
But that's genius. What you just said is genius, right? Is listen, why doesn't every company have a quote unquote luxury division? Every company should have a luxury division. The landscaper should have, even if it's still him, right? You know what? We need to refer that up to the luxury division. And then it's a conversation that leads to an appointment, right? Yeah. And it's like just saying that, I mean, and here's the thing, what does it take to have a luxury division? You saying you have a luxury division, and then developing some type of branding and elements around that. I mean, that's all it takes. You are the luxury division, but you're the luxury division anyway. So we lead with luxury division, and if it's still you, it's okay, right? Yeah. So I will tell you that early in my career, I was kind of pigeonholed as the guy who worked with first-time homebuyers. So I had to re-educate a lot of people that I don't just work with first-time home buyers. I work with first-time home sellers, and I work with second-time home sellers, third-time home sellers, treasure home, luxury, and land, and I can do a lot of other things too, right?
Well, along those lines, when you own being a luxury specialist, and the flip side of that is you're pegged as a luxury guy, and that entry level or that average person might say, well, I didn't think I was good enough, or I didn't think you would work this price point. Yeah. So,
or I wouldn't get focused, or I wouldn't get your energy, or I wouldn't, you know. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So one of the things that you have to do, and I have to do this as well, is don't just post luxury. I have a $17,000 vacant lot in Chicago, like not in the areas that people are buying lots. And so, you know, I'll never forget, I was selling a vacant lot, and I was putting the sold sign on it, and I did a Facebook Live video like, hey, cute or small, we sell them all. And you have to remind people it's not just the big but you also do entry level. I'm here to help people, right? And so, that's kind of part of my marketing. My tagline is just that. I mean, we're reminding people in our flyers, in our brochures, we're reminding them that just big or small, we sell them all. Let's discuss strategies to get the highest price for your home, right? So I have to almost hammer that because I am so branded as luxury. Yeah. They have to remember that we'll help the entry level, the rental, the buyer. Now, it might not be me, but it'll be someone on my team.
Yeah, I love that. And I, the big or small, we sell them all could apply to any single person that's listening to this, because even a landscaper, they should have like a little square of grass, and it has brick around it and a mower that literally takes up the whole blade, the whole section of grass, and they will literally mow that to acreage and luxury, and they should have pictures of both that. That's a great visual. There's a really small lawn, like a microscopic lawn, and then they have that acreage property that they cut, and that would really visually represent big or small. We cut them all,
So, you need case studies, you need more testimonials, you need more reviews. I mean, that's a common theme in all price
points. More videos,
points.
Right?
More videos.
Yeah.
More videos.
More photos, more videos. I love it. All right. So what are the top mistakes agents make or businesses make when they try to enter the luxury market?
Number one, like I call these more not just mistakes, but before they even try, like to go up to the batter's box, you have to think you can get a hit. So
that's right.
Before you even step out of the batter's box, the limiting beliefs or misconceptions is, I have to be licensed X amount of years or be in business X amount of years before I can sell luxury. False. I have to live in that community to sell in that community. False. I have to drive a certain car, to exude luxury. False. I have to be with a certain brokerage or brand. False. The worst one is there's already blank number of luxury agents in my market. There's certainly not room for another. False. So that is the furthest thing from the truth. I like being the black sheep. In other words, when that seller's interviewing all my luxury competition, brand wise, and if I'm with a brand that's not known as luxury, I embrace that. I don't want to be vanilla. I want to stand out, right? And so,
well, let me say something on that real quick, just because I know you. You embrace the role of rebel, baby. You are a rebel, renegade. Like you're like you were too small. You look like a kicker, but you played D-back, right? And it's like I know that you totally. My brand when I launched it was the Renegade Agent. Totally.
Years ago, I was known as the Renegade Agent. When everybody goes left, you go right. When everybody shows up with the iPad, don't show up with the iPad.
That's
Don't
right.
do the same things as everybody else. Seth Godin says you can either stand out or fit in, but you can't do both.
That's right. That's right. And it's like, please, dear God, underestimate me.
Please.
Right?
Or tell me I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That. All right. So other mistakes that they typically make.
Yeah. So like you said, they put their best interest in front of the clients, and that's in all price points. But, if you're selfish, if you do something like I just helped an agent, secure a $22.9 million listing. And the guy was really hesitant to give an exclusive. It was in another state, but they hired me. I have a program called my Closer program where I'll help that agent secure that trophy listing. And so to me, it was a really bad look because she did the photo shoot, but she did the photo shoot and she also did all the Instagram reels and the Charlie's Angels videos and all these things that, was it about the house or was it, hey, this is about me and as an opportunity for me. And I don't believe the trust was there yet, the credibility. And so, to me, that was a red flag. To me, if I was a seller, like, wait, I'm seeing all these posts. It's all about you and not the house. Like, are you going out for being a model or are you really trying to sell my house, right? And so it's putting the client first and building trust and credibility to earn that right to ask. Because with the high net worth individuals, with athletes, I worked with them a lot, getting their permission. They want to be more They want to be more under the radar, right? And so they don't want to be in the limelight. And so, if there's a posting, if Wall Street, Mansion Global wants to do something on the sale, you better give a heads up to the seller, because they don't want to see their name in lights if you knew about it ahead of time. Sometimes there's things you can't control, but you got to give them a heads up. And if it's about you and not them, it's going to be a tough time to earn referrals.
Well, I think that's the importance of what in 7L I wrote about was the success stories, right? Is the 7 steps to a success story is not about the agent's success or the person writing the success story. Mm-hmm. It's actually about your client's success, right? That's what we need to be focused on is the client success. And all of here's the thing. If we talk about the client success, it just says that we're successful too. Right. And in fact, that's the greatest success is when our clients have success. So I think, an example of that is you get a write-up opportunity in a magazine. You talk about the home and you talk about the opportunity, and you're gonna get the spotlight. Mm-hmm. Even though you're not talking about yourself. But I've also seen it where it's them big and bold on the cover, them big and bold in every single picture, and so on and so forth. And it is. You're like, are you trying out for a model, or is this about selling homes? No,
you're absolutely right. It's about the trust and credibility. People want to refer business, and people want to buy and sell with people that they like and they trust. And so one of my favorite quotes is from Daniel S. Kahneman. And he says, people would rather do business with someone they like and they trust rather than someone they don't, even if this likable person is offering a lower quality product and service at a higher price. Yeah. So, of course, what you're doing, what I'm doing, we're trying to raise the bar. We're trying to help agents not just be likable, but do what they say they're going to do, over deliver. And so I believe if you're likable and you do a great job. Now, you're not going to please everybody. You were in my class in Cabo, and I said this, Steve Jobs says, if you want to please everybody, sell ice cream. Well, guess what? The LaFido kids will still be upset with the ice cream flavors or it's not too cold, not too hot. So you're not going to even please everybody selling ice cream. So, be you, but do the best version of you.
Yeah. All right. Final words of wisdom for somebody that wants to work with affluent clients and break into the luxury market.
Success leaves clues. Tony Robbins says, go figure out once someone successful is done. I'll give you the 1 minute version of my OPP. You're down with OPP, and I'm talking about other people's properties, but not the Naughty by Nature rap song from the early 90s. So for those of you that, are interested in increasing your average sale price, success leaves clues. Go, figure out other top luxury agents in your market. We have a podcast. We're giving free content out there. Grow your knowledge and your confidence will grow. If you're more confident, you'll step out of your comfort zone. So I would join a chamber of commerce that caters to upper price point buyers and sellers in a certain community. You might have to drive 30 minutes. I would go to other agents, broker opens in those luxury homes and be a student and learn more. I would offer to host open houses at other agents' luxury listings. I have a guy that interned for me last summer. He's already qualified for his brokerage's luxury division, and he's been licensed less than a year. He's done over $5 million. He's got $1 million or $2 million listing. He took the principles that I've taught and he's implemented them. So grow your knowledge and your confidence will grow.
Love it. That's a drop the mic moment. You gave three to five pearls and nuggets just in the last paragraph. So lots of value here. Love every minute of it. Now, how can people get in touch with you and learn more about your class and subscribe to your podcast?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You can Google me. You can find me online. My name is Michael LaFido, LaFido. The best place probably to go would be go to our website, luxurylistingspecialist.com. At the top of the website, there's a resources tab with a bunch of free resources we give out, from our podcast to our vlog to a blueprint. So if they go to luxurylistingspecialist.com, that's probably the best way, Michael. If somebody wants to shoot me an email, they certainly can. My staff checks them, Michael@marketingluxurygroup.com. Michael at Marketing Luxury Group. But if they go to luxurylistingspecialist.com, there's a bunch of free resources. There's also a tab about my events, where I'm speaking next, where they can find me next. We do a lot of training. Some are virtual, some are in person. And we also do a weekly live stream. I have a YouTube channel just like you do. If you guys go to youtube.com/@luxury specialist, hit the subscribe button. I go live each week with free content. I bring guests on like Michael. I'm going to have him on my show. And that's probably the best way to see where I'm, when I'm speaking next is our events tab, but our luxury specialist at YouTube, youtube.com/@luxury specialist, which is a reminder for everybody that's listening. Your business should have a YouTube channel. You should be putting testimonials on there, case studies on there. The other thing, YouTube about 2 months ago came out with /@. So you can create your own handle, if you will. And so check your handle. It could be landscaperchicago.com. If you're the landscaper in Chicago, go claim your @ symbol on your YouTube channel if you haven't done so.
That's brilliant. Yeah, we just got youtube.com/@get referrals, right?
There you go.
And so definitely a believer in that. Pretty recent program too.
It is. In the last 2 months, I just got a random email that says claim your @ handle, if you will. And so Luxury Specialists, we're at Luxury Specialists.
Love it. Love it. Very good stuff. Mr. Michael LaFido, just so many things to unpack here, so much value here. I just want to say thank you so much for being our guest here on Referrals Podcast.
No, you're absolutely right. The last thing I'll leave you, and I know you can see this, Michael, I have a sign in my office that says, prove them wrong. Mm-hmm. When somebody tells you can't do something, you can't sell luxury, your brand's not known for luxury, you're this, you're that, thrive off of that. When you grow your confidence, you'll be more knowledgeable. You'll step out of your comfort zone. And that's my message to you. No matter where you're coming from, there's always agents that are breaking into luxury. Why not you? Prove them wrong.
Love it. Drop the mic. Prove them wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael LaFido, I love it. It's another great episode of Referrals Podcast. This is one to subscribe to, rate it, review it, share it, let other people know about this. So many people who want to work with affluent clients and they want to get into the luxury market. This is how to do it. Literally step by step. Here's the guide. Here's the guy to make it happen. So I just want to appreciate everybody who's listening here today. And hey, here's the deal. I know the next podcast that we're going to have, I know the next episode, it is a can't miss. Make sure you subscribe so that you get an alert when that next one comes out. I can't wait for you to hear that one as well. Today was awesome. I really appreciate it. We will see you next time on Referrals Podcast. See you, everybody.